Hiya. So it's me again, and today actually months this series being 4 months old. Kind of crazy to think about. Now, since there wasn't really much that's happening this week, I think this week is the perfect week to talk about a lot of the new things that have been coming to MapleStory. One of the big things that have been announced is Sia Estelle from MapleStory M. Now, I think the class looks absolutely gorgeous. I think it'll be a good addition to MapleStory, and I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy another support being in the game. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to be changing any of my Legion champions or anything, but there was something that was hinted at the end of the video. For anybody who's watched it, there was this new system that was being introduced called Erdelink. Now, Erdelink looks like another system, kind of like the 6-job hexamatrix, but it's more of like a skill tree where you can branch out into that skill tree and get various stats using fragments. Now, some people were speculating that this system is going to replace Champion Legion. Now, while I don't think this is particularly true, and the fact that this is pretty much all going to be coming out in a week or two, pretty much means that there's nothing really to say about this. It's best that I think people just wait and see what happens. But it did get me thinking. What will I do if there is no Champion Legion, or when I am done with my Champion Legion? So I think today is the perfect time to talk about what my plans are for after the Champion Legion progression. Now, if you guys like the series, please remember to hit like, comment, and sub. Also, check out my Twitch channel if you guys want to see what I'm doing live and how I'm approaching progressing each character with any sort of specific events. Link will be down below, and I really appreciate it. So, what are my plans when this journey is over? It's a question that can be broken down into different parts, so I'll use this video of a way of clearly stating what, where, and why I will be playing going forward. Depending on the circumstances, obviously, this could definitely change depending on what sort of updates are brought to the game. But for now, I know a lot of people are wondering if I'll ever be returning to Chronos, and the answer is no. I personally feel that my Hyperion account is a lot more invested, and I personally enjoy my Hyperion account a lot more, and Hyperion is just going to be the better server for me. Generally, not having to deal with the frustrations of lag or overpopulation can have its benefits. Now, it does also have its drawbacks, as finding parties or directly communicating with people who watch me or other players won't really exist on the large scale. But for the most part, this can also be used to its advantage, as I can create content where I can progress solo without having to need any of these parties or having to look for them, which means that I'll have a lot more time to just do what I need to do, which is go fight boss, go record video or edit video, and call it a day, where I don't need to be scheduling times and, working my way into other people's schedules. I can kind of just go off of my own schedule, and this can also be used as a way to basically create a new form, well, not a new form of content, but a different skew on the progression series that I have recently been putting on my channel. So what will I main when the journey is over? Because realistically, the whole point of Champion Legion is to gain bonus stats for the 6 characters that are within it. And while I can play all 6, it'll be hard to progress past a certain point, because splitting your focus between 6 characters definitely gets hard, especially considering that the functionality of daily XP and the functionality of familiars and how much we need to farm on a single character to really get the most out of a single character definitely means that in order to push past a certain point, you want to be focusing on exactly one character. Now, for most people who've been watching this series, you already know that my heart is mostly set on playing Khali. Now, given that the balance of this game is haywire at all points in time, I'm also inclined to pick up another class alongside my Khali, just in case if Khali gets gutted really hard. So, what will that class be, you might ask? Now, it's really hard for me to say because I actually do enjoy all of my other champions. And because this is the case, I'm personally inclined to just wait and kind of just see which class ends up with the best gear, because it actually makes a huge difference when it comes to the later stages of progression. And when this Champion Legion progression comes to an end, a lot of time will also be freed up for me because I won't be doing 6 sets of dailies, and endgame progression is mostly just about farming and getting your weeklies in, which when it all starts to come together and you have 6 characters that are really, really strong, it ends up being generally really fast. So there will be a lot of points in time where a certain week will come and I just won't have enough content to make a video. So I am also still looking to figure out how I want to make content on other games that I personally enjoy. But obviously for the foreseeable future, the content that is on my channel will be exclusively MapleStory content. But I do eventually want to branch out and make content on different games, because while I do like MapleStory, sometimes there can be points where there just isn't really much to do, especially considering that nowadays the summer and winter events are very, very prominent. And honestly, I could also use this as an opportunity to just play MapleStory more casually, where I pick up a class and just progress it up to a certain point and see how that is, or see how different classes feel, just for the fun of it. So I'd just like to preface this again. For the time being, the content will remain the same. I'll be uploading Champion Legion videos. We still haven't hit our initial goal of getting all 6 characters to 275, and we're making our way there. Now, the Dual Blade is almost there. Bowmaster is getting there, and we still have a lot of work to do on the Adele. Now, I don't know if I will actually need to get my characters to 280, which is personally why I'm okay with settling them at 275. I'm personally going to need to get close to the gear cap before I start extensively testing any sort of Kalos damage. Of course, because that is the end goal. Also, it's hard for me to really say whether I need to get these characters to 280, is because there's a lot of power creep that's coming into the game. Mastery 3 and 4 is a lot of damage for every class. Pretty much just out the gate, whether you just unlock the masteries or get them all the way to max. Having those masteries is a huge benefit. The Champion Legion system itself, assuming it does come, is going to be a whole bunch of stats by the time I get to the tail end of this series. And there is also the Erdlink system, which, once again, is another way that can give a bonus stats to, I don't know if it's to the entire account or to a character, but if it is the entire account, then that's another way that my characters can pretty much all get stronger at the same time, which means that I don't know how much leeway there's really going to be, and if I'll need 280 for that extra final damage. Now, each of those levels in between 275 and 280 is a lot of damage, but considering that the damage ceiling keeps getting pushed up higher and higher, and Kalos, in terms of its difficulty, goes lower and lower. So that's why initially the goal is and remains getting all of the characters to 275, because getting all the characters to 275 also gives them the time to build spares for arcanes so that I can max their gear out, potentially get some pitched, ring boxes, and a whole bunch of money to just max out their gear so that I don't really have to wait or be patient for events. The week that just went by, made over 30 bill, and pretty much spent it on 5, 10, 15. The vast majority of it, I have 10 bill left. Just trying to make some improvements to the dual blade, the Bowmaster, and Adele, because now I'm realistically in a spot where the dual blade can solo C10 now. The Bowmaster is running in a party with my friends, and I can just trade C10 for the Adele, considering that I have 4 characters that can run it. Now, of course, the Adele will need levels because the Adele isn't quite there yet, but anyways, that's everything I wanted to say about what it's going to look like after this whole series is done and what I'm really thinking about as all of these new big changes come to GMS. But for now, we'll continue with our regular scheduled programming. Off to the recaps of my characters for this week. Alrighty, so here we are on the Cannoneer, and I'm gonna be honest, nothing has changed on this character. The only thing that has changed is what we've actually been doing on this character. Now, we have been running hard Saren and easy Kalos on this character, which means that it's making an extra bill and a half every week in comparison to my other characters. I am running H Saren in a duo and running easy Kalos solo. So realistically, we are looking for ring boxes from those 2 bosses. If I can get a weapon jump 4, that would be awesome. And we are kind of just running everything else, of course, because we want arcane spares and we want everything else. Now, granted, this character does have a lot of spares, so I'm not really worried about this character. I think it's best if I were to share my future plans. And the first thing that comes to mind, and why I talked about rings before everything, is the 2-minute changes and Erdalink. Because these are the 2 things that will very much change how Cannoneer functions. So let's talk about Erdalink, because we don't really know what is inside of this new system. And this new system may potentially have ways for you to reduce cooldowns even further. And if it does, then I am potentially thinking about using when I get my Eternal Hat, I will throw a cooldown potential on it instead of a stat potential. And the reason being is because I think that with all of the new changes, Cannoneer's damage distribution will be a lot more even, which means that having cooldowns reduced on everything and playing the class a lot like Shade, where you want to maximize your usage of Overdrive, will really bring the best out of Cannoneer. Especially considering that when your abilities are generally up more often, you're less reliant on the one thing hitting, whereas if it misses, you kind of just lose all your damage. Now, granted, this isn't going to be too bad in the coming patch, literally just because the hits for the bullet bill goes down from 6 seconds to 3 seconds, but its damage also gets increased for it. Now, the Cannoneer has kind of been in the same boat that it's been in for a while. We are waiting for an event. The event being Shining Star Force will pretty much make or break my Cannoneer, if you will. We're hoping to have a lot of money for it, but I don't know if I'll even be able to get to this character, because I think it might be a smarter idea to tap on my Adele and Bowmaster and get them up to C10 so that my income can be much higher, and then use that increased income to just spam everything down on every single character, including of course, the Cannoneer. Once again, I'll have to see how much money I'm going into the event with. I'm hoping to have at least 100 bill. We'll also have to see where the Adele and Bowmaster actually end up, because if they don't have a lot of spares, or if they're not at a level, or they don't have the amount of funding to push to that point where they can solo C10E, then it might actually be a smart idea to actually see what happens to the items on my Cannoneer, because obviously we have a lot to do on this character. The Dom pendants have pretty much replenished themselves. We have an army of them again. We still have 2 pitched in our inventory. We have a Pap Mark, whole bunch of arcanes, endless amounts of Daybreak pendants and Twilight Marks, a whole lot of Guardian Angel rings, and we are also stashing superior items for when the 30-star Star Force comes around, because you never know what the meta is actually going to look like around here, or if they actually decide to not be stingy and make the items actually accessible. So yeah, I mean, nothing really to say more about the Cannoneer than that. Alrighty, so here we are on the Khali. Now, funnily enough, this character actually managed to get a level in the span of the last week, which is really funny. This is now the highest level character on my account, but definitely not the strongest, but we are making our way there. The Khali has actually managed to recuperate the 2 Daybreak pendants that I blew up, which is not very fun. The Khali is also starting to amass a decent amount of spares. Now granted, I don't really have pitch to tap on this character, but I still can make improvements as the arcanes are starting to build up, which is nice. The Khali, unlike the Cannoneer, has every ring at level 4, so I don't have any reason to run normal Saren on this character, but I have been running easy Kalos on this character. I have been doing with a friend, and we are getting our practice reps in, and we actually managed to get it down, which is cool. So this character will start to see Eternal soon. Of course, we'll start with the hat on this character, because going for a 4-second hat is very important, and I don't want to do it on a CRA hat. It's just not worth the investment, knowing that this character is very much going to be more than strong enough to even solo easy Kalos relatively soon. It doesn't even have a heart yet, and this character is breaching over 100 mil. So when we actually get a fairy heart, we're going to cube it, go for 3-line, obviously, because hearts are relatively easy. And with the income, it shouldn't make too much of a dent in terms of what we're doing, but it will give a lot of damage. And the one thing that the Khali doesn't have, that the Cannoneer does, is a liberated Genesis weapon, which is a very big deal. Now, the Khali is actually coming closer to its liberation. It should liberate by the end of July, if I've done all of my calculations correct. As of right now, this character is... let me just double check. It has finished its Lotus quest, which means that in June, if I clear the Damien quest, all that we'll need is 3,000 fragments in order to complete the Genesis quest. Now, obviously, I won't have Black Mage for the month of June, but I will have every single week of C10E to do on this character, and of course when we get to July, we'll have our Black Mage solo for July, which will give 900 points, yada 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 yada. Yeah, if it doesn't liberate in July, it's definitely going to be the first week of August, and that's when this character will easily be able to push H Saren alone, which means that I might be able to potentially do H Saren trades. We can also start doing easy Kalos solo, potentially N Kalos in a party, or maybe a duo or trio, depending on what my Sacred Force looks like in the next few months. Unlike the Cannoneer, I have still been doing dailies on this character because obviously it's struggling the most, as it just got to these levels the most recently. Now, obviously, when I actually do finish all 6 of my characters to 260, and I don't really have to worry about Arcane Force anymore, that's when we're going to start doing dailies on all 6 of the characters, and the Sacred Force progression will resume. But considering how long it takes to do weeklies on each of these characters, and Arcane dailies are generally just frustrating, I've been slowing it down and just running dailies on the Khali, Dual Blade, Bowmaster, and Adele, and kind of been putting the Cannoneer and Marksman in the back burner for now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Khali. So let's talk about the Marksman. Alrighty, so here we are on Man of Mark Variety. Now, nothing much has really changed about him except for the fact that he got new kicks. He got some new NX, which is much more fitting of his outfit in comparison to the old shoes, which is, in my opinion, a big upgrade that is entirely necessary. The Marksman, yeah, we're gonna need to make upgrades on this character. Same boat as the Cannoneer, this character is building a ridiculous amount of spares, especially in the Arcanes department. 4 of each. I have so much of these that I also just decided to grab a shoulder, because there is a very low chance that all of these Arcanes will not see 19. So I decided to grab a shoulder so that I can bring it to 19 as well without having to spend the money for a new spare, which is nice. It's starting to build up its Dominator pendants again, so these funny pendants might come into the question again. Especially considering that this character already has a 22 Dom, and we do have a sup sitting in our inventory. So if this sup goes 22, we can just send it right into one of these pendants and hope that it hits. Now, granted, I do also have 2 Source of Sufferings, which is nice. So, in case if we boom 1, we got another as a backup. So, there's a very good chance that this character will have a 22 Source of Suffering. Now, I will say this character has been absolutely shafted in terms of Twilights. It has not been getting Twilight marks, which is kind of interesting to think about because this character has the most drop rate by far out of all my characters. But yeah, Marksman, kind of okay with him now. Since we made a lot of the upgrades on Cube Sale, he has been able to clear Black Mage without a Black Heart, so just his regular gear, he's able to take down the Black Mage, which is nice, which means that he's going to be able to liberate relatively soon. And of course, Mastery 3 and 4 are coming, so it'll get even easier for this character. Alrighty, so here we are on the DB. Now, I have plans to hit 270 on this DB in the next week. Strictly because there is a funny potion over here, which will pretty much get me to 270 instantly. We have been grinding on this character. We've gotten a level and a little bit. I have been taking my time though. I haven't been grinding really hard. I've just been going at it here and there whenever I find the time. And we've been taking the time to just level up and try to chunk through all of our fragments as fast as we can, to just reap the benefits of the damage that I get from the fragments as soon as possible. So we've gotten Ajra's Anger and Phantom Blow to 9, which is pretty good. And we've also managed to get Blade Storm and Blade Tornado to level 4. I would love to push all of these even higher, but I'm stopping at 4 for now because the Soul Urda cost is 1 all the way until level 4, so I'm probably going to push everything to level 4, including the Origin, to level 4, and then from there I'll make my decision on what I want to do next. From that point on, I think I might go for Ajra's Anger to 19. The scaling on the Ajra's Anger node is actually really good. So, like, as you can tell, It is currently level 9, and it's giving me 753% 6 times. The next level increases that damage by 17%, which is an absolutely explosive increase, on top of the fact that it also increases Phantom Blow damage. And the fact that I have a continuous ring on this character, Phantom Blow has actually been doing the most damage whenever I fight bosses, so the Azura's Anger node will probably be the go-to after I get everything to level 4. It's kind of a no-brainer because it does, or it hits 2 birds with 1 stone. Besides that, the Dual Blade has been slowly working up in Sacred Force. I'm pretty sure it actually does have a level, so you know what? We'll do that right now. We're gonna pay our taxes. Don't do tax fraud. That's very bad. I don't know if I'll get demonetized for that, but hopefully not. Yeah, combine that, which means that we're at 110, and pretty much the moment we set foot in Odium, we're gonna have really no struggle transitioning into Odium, as right now the damage that I'm doing against the conductor bots is actually really high. I'm even one-shotting with Blade Fury, and for anybody who has played Dual Blade, that is not very common, unless if you're really, really strong, so that's good. And now that FAMs are actually dropping everywhere, I'm inclined to farm in Odium, which means that my progress towards 275 will be so much faster, which is absolutely awesome. That is one of the best changes with them actually opening up familiars to all regions, which is good. So instead of going for uniques like the way I did on my Khali, I've just been working on epics, specifically because it's going to be not long before I get to Odium, so committing to any sort of familiars pretty much means that I'm going to be losing familiar cards and not really getting anything out of them. So that's pretty much all we've been doing. In terms of this character's gear, we have made some improvements. Now, before the 5, 10, 15 that happened yesterday, we still had a bunch of 10 stars, which we had to fix, because the difference between 10 to 17 is actually relatively large. This character's combat power was 56, and when I put everything in the right preset now, it goes all the way to 65, so actually a really good damage improvement, and we'll see what our damage looks like in C10 in the next week. Or, I mean, hell, maybe even after I hit 270, because that'll give me even more damage. We'll kind of just have to see. We'll have to do a play-by-play. But the Kana's treasure was 10, and we got it to 17. We used the 17-star scroll from the Homecoming mission on the Guardian Angel ring to get it to 17. Superior Gollux ring was 10, and we got it to 17. Superior Gollux pendant was 10, and we got it to 17. Arcane Umbra dagger was 12, and we got it to 17. Besides that, not really much has changed. I've also gotten the shoulder to 17. I did not have the shoulders to 17 either, as I got it actually after the previous Star Force event that came around. So yeah, we pretty much have gained a handful of 17s, which has given this character a lot of damage, which is nice. And the fact that we're improving symbols, and the fact that we have 200 fragments backed up, means that this character still is going to get a lot of damage in a short period of time. I kind of just have to farm it out and make sure that this character is getting the attention that it needs. Alrighty, so here we are on the Bowmaster, and it is now in Limina in comparison to where it was last week, which is really cool. Means that I can actually do all the Tenebris dailies and get all of the fragments, or what are they called again? Sparks. Sparks, that's what they're called. Sparks of Determination. Now, the Bowmaster, oh man, I feel so bad for the Bowmaster. I do want to push this character to 260. Only issue being is that I want the Adele to be in a similar power level or power bracket as this character. because I want to be able to get arcanes or get bosses for these characters as soon as possible. So what I'm kind of doing right now is I'm throwing all of the dailies that this character can access and the Adele can't on this character, and then all of the dailies that I can throw on the Adele, I'm throwing on the Adele. So this character going forward, at least for now, is only going to get the XP from Tenebris and Esfera, whereas the Adele is pretty much going to be getting the XP from Morass and Below and Monster Park. Now, granted, it's going to hit 235 today or tomorrow, which means that even Esfera XP will go towards the Adele, so the Bowmaster will be making the slow march to 260, whereas the Adele will be catching up very rapidly. Now, granted, obviously, even though it's not getting the XP, I still have been doing the arcane dailies on this character. I'm slowly working towards its symbols. It's actually approaching the 1.5 for Will and Gloom, which is nice. We just need a level or two. As long as I do my weeklies and I do my dailies, we'll probably be there in a week or two, which is very nice. And we kind of did the same thing on this character that we did on the Dual Blade, where we tied some loose ends and tried to get some items to 17. So the Kanos treasure is now 17. We actually managed to pull a superior belt for this character literally on the day of 5/10/15. So we grabbed it up right away, started to 17 because we know that this item is going to be here for a while. We started the Dominator Pendant up to 17. We started the Absolab weapon up to 17. Now, I usually don't star Absolabs to 17, but the reason why I do the weapon in particular is because you get attack from the 10th to the 15th star, which means that starring a weapon actually makes it a lot more effective, especially for the early stars, which means that I actually do gain a lot of damage off of those stars. We also got the Black Bean Mark to 17, and that's pretty much it. And the D-Sidus earrings. Besides that, we didn't do anything else on this character. But even then, this character has still gained a few million combat power. It was at 12 last week. In the right presets, this character goes up to 16. And this character is actually able to do a pretty solid amount of damage. I actually think this character can solo Hard Lotus and potentially even Hard Damien if I were to really max out, but it's a very long run, so I'm not particularly interested in it. If anything, the place where the Bowmaster is actually lacking the most damage is the V-Matrix. So any nodes are probably going to go into this character, as it is the highest priority right now, as because it's already at a good level, funneling damage into this character so that I can get its loot will definitely help it quite a bit. Last, and yeah, certainly least for now, is the Adele. Adele got the same treatment as the Bowmaster, so any sort of items that we had laying around that were in 17 got its stars pushed up to 17. So that includes the Kanos treasure. Dominator Pendant did the same thing here with the weapon. Any of the CRAs, I did not have any of the CRAs to 17. We also did the Golden Clover Belt and the Will-o'-the-Wisps. Now, this character is pretty much going to be making the fastest blitz through the Arcane River. Now, its Arcane Force is relatively low, but when I hit 235, that is all going to change because we have a lot of symbols waiting for them. Also, we have these as well, which is another 200. Yeah, the Adele is going to be making the fastest run of the century. It's already at 630 without even an Asphera symbol, so when I get that, when I get all the symbols, even it out, this character is going to be easily pushing 900, or at least close to it. So, yeah. that's part of the reason why I've been approaching it like this. I also want to get this character to 250. For the sake of this character gets more damage, so any of the bosses that I run on this character is not annoying to run. That's one thing I will say. I definitely don't like having longer runs for bosses. And if I can shorten them as much as possible, especially when it comes to like the easy stuff like, you know, Zacum or Pierre or Papalatus, if I can shorten these runs as much as possible, or even Arcarium and Gollux, Gollux especially, Gollux on a daily basis, you pretty much want to be going into Gollux 10 seconds, dipping, and forgetting about it. And that's part of the reason why I haven't been doing Gollux on this character, is because it takes too long. So leveling up will definitely improve what this character's Gollux runs will look like on top of everything else. And getting the runs, which is why I'm deciding to do it like this. I probably can get the Bowmaster to 260 and get it 6 job, but it doesn't really change what the Bowmaster is going to do, which is why I'm doing it like this. And we'll kind of see how it rolls. So the nodes are going to go on the Bowmaster, and once this character starts approaching the same level as the Bowmaster, then that's when we're going to start throwing the nodes on this character instead. I have been trying to get and gather as much nodes as possible from every single part of the event. The Maple Distance long running, all of the nodes have been going to... All of the medals have been going to the nodes. And the Homecoming mission, now that I'm done with the 2 items that I wanted to get, that being the event rings and the trait boost potions, all of it is going to go towards nodes. Also, I have bought these out as well because this was good XP for the Adele. But besides that, we are now just going to be going for nodes, as many nodes as possible. I'm potentially thinking about doing experience node stones, but I don't know if that's the play. I think I just want to grab as many nodes as possible, as this character and the Bowmaster still have a lot of work on the boost nodes, and generally normal node stones are best for boost nodes, because you are most likely to just open a boost node, which does give them a lot of XP. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for the Adele. I'm pretty happy with this character's gear. I did, you know, happen to have small little queuing sessions on this character where I threw 400 mil, 500 mil every here and there on the WSE, and it actually has a very respectable WSE, which is why this character's damage is so high, given that the level is so low. So the Adele definitely won't struggle to trade any sort of bosses once it actually gets to the level that it needs to get to. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it. Now, there wasn't really much that was changing in the way of the characters. It's kind of just how I'm shifting my expectations based on the rewards that I'm getting from the event. But besides that, there is an end in sight. The fact that familiars are now in every location, and the fact that there are a huge amount of event rewards coming through, leveling my characters to 260 and all the way up to 275 respectively is becoming a lot easier. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about what my plans would be going forward, as I think it's important to plan ahead or look forward to what's next, because we know that this isn't always going to last forever. Just like, you know, Legion, even as of right now, is kind of becoming outdated, as, you know, pushing past 8.5, 9, 10k Legion doesn't really do much anymore, which is why I'm assuming they even decided to release Legion Champion. I think it's a new way to keep the game fresh, and, you know, something staying fresh is not always going to stay fresh, so we're just looking forward to what's next and having a good time. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. That'll be it for today. Remember to like, comment, and sub, or I will literally eat your mesos faster than 5, 10, 15 does. Much love. Peace out.